What do you consider a good bedding habitat?
They got to be able to get up and feed within close, like if they could just stand up out of their beds and they can eat, that's a plus. So like I like to focus on uh, areas where I find like gypsy moth kills from the trees, or you get the ash borers now that are killing all the trees off, or the elms get the blight and all the elms die off and stuff. Those areas where that canopy, all the standing dead poles, you get that dead timber up there, it changes the habitat on the bottom, on the so that usually gives me that diversity that I want, because then you all of a sudden get these plants that never grow anywhere else because the mature hardwood forbs, so all of a sudden you got all these rare forbs and lilies and all these weird plants that don't grow anywhere else. And you got that dead, decaying wood all on the ground, putting moisture into the soil, and it's a because it's a big thing on all that. Is it's not just a spot, but it's also like soil health and stuff. Like if you got like crappy soil, the stuff doesn't grow right there. It doesn't make the diversity in the food. you know. So when you find those good pockets, moisture and food and cover and terrain and water, and you put all that together,
Yeah.
then you're going to find the best spots.
Yeah, and it's funny. That's again another correlation. Out west is like one thing I've learned is areas where you find beetle kill in
Mm-hmm.
the mountains. So like all the basically the pine trees and the conifer trees will die off, and it gets to a point where it allows sunlight to come in, and all these grasses and plants and stuff grow up
Mm-hmm.
because where they were drowned out before, and the elk just freaking pound it. You got to get it to like the point before they get so dead they fall over and it turns into
Mm-hmm.
just like a pile of sticks and that you
Yep.
can't get through. But that makes total sense. I mean, it's the same concept of like what they're doing with a logging cut. Essentially, when they're thinning it out and clearing it, it's allowing that sunlight to come through and
Yep.
that new growth to come up.
Yeah. Except it's even better because nature made it, and nature is chaos, so nothing's ever the same. So like you get the a clear cut, it's just a block. There's no pattern to it. They're just cutting the timber in this marked off area. But when you get nature doing that kind of destruction, fire too, same thing. You get fire doing it. It burns different, hotter and more over here than over there, and it just completely changes how everything grows in that whole area. You know.
Yeah, and two, it's like, and say that were to happen, on the side hills and some of these places that they don't traditionally like to log unless they have to, that are more
Mm-hmm.
difficult to get the trees out of, which creates better bedding habitat and places for them to live at and feel a
Yep.
little more secure.
Yep.
And going back to talking about some of that bedding habitat. Do you tend to, when you're talking about like a spring seep or something that would be coming out of that hill? wh- so traditionally, that's not like what you hear as far as like bucks bedding on the points and having like that's a whole different. That's sounds like coming out of the side
Mm-hmm.
of the mountain somewhere in an area.
They'll be on features, but they're going to be on micro features, like the not the big stuff. You
Yep.
know, it doesn't take much for a buck to have a bedding area. It's just food or eyes. He's got to be able to see and hear and smell. And it's that normally when you can get that combination all together, that's usually when you find the bigger bucks. From what I see, like most of the deer around here, they want visual. They want some kind of visual. They want to be able to see what's going on because there's so much people that they got to be able to see. Okay, this guy's over here and this guy's over here, and okay, so I can get through over here and escape. So they want to be in a place where they can monitor that kind of access. So like a lot of my spots I hunt, I'm shooting deer right next to hiking trails, next to roadsides, near parking lots, like a lot of places where a buck would sit there and just watch what's going on, you know. And like even like the does, he's not going to bed with the does. He's going to bed off somewhere to the side and watch the does, you know. And then he can see if you start walking into that bedding area and bumping all those deer around near him, he can sit there and stand up in his bed and watch what's going on and watch what all the other deer are doing and make his own decision on what he needs to do to survive, you know. And that's every time you look at a bed, you got to really think about all that kind of stuff that's going on, because a big buck is that's how he's living. You know, he's got to have certain a certain plan to escape. You know?
Yeah. And if he got that old, if it's a big mature deer, he didn't figure that out from being stupid. If he would have been stupid, he would have got shot at some. And maybe it's a lot of luck, but they eventually get smart and figure those things out. But that's such a good point on the does. Like they act as bucks use them. They use them as an alarm system so many times. You find that, and you might not even ever see that buck. Mostly, you probably wouldn't, because by the time you spook those does, you know, he slipped out and he was gone.